This is a message from the Catalonia Dignity Commission from Catalonia, and today we are going to award Julian Assange the Dignity Award 2019. This is a message from the board. This is a message from the board who would so have loved to make it today, but due to COVID restrictions, they weren't able to make it. So this is a message on their behalf. Good morning. We are very grateful to the London Julian Assange Defense Committee, Christine Assange, and Eric Levy for the chance to present the 2019 Dignity Prize to Julian Assange today on behalf of the Catalan Dignity Commission. As an organization which fights against the ongoing legacy of Francoism today, 45 years after the dictator's death, it is with great pleasure that we offer this modest award to Julian Assange for the immense task of democratic empowerment he has been carrying out. Our organization, which has been defending civil rights since its creation 18 years ago, recognizes Julian Assange, the very essence of democratic journalism, as based on transparency and the citizen's right to verify information. The scandal is that Julian Assange is on trial for doing this. Yet the only crimes we can in any way relate to Julian Assange are the war crimes he himself has denounced over the years. A clear distinction must be at all times be made between the alleged national security interests, which dishonest governments claim have been violated, and the illegitimate use they make of security and secrecy as a way of disguising corruption, warmongering, and the abuse of power for imperialist ends. As Catalans, we also want to thank Julian for supporting the Catalan people's right to self-determination, in addition to the valuable aid he offered the independence referendum held on October 1st, 2017. Today, both Julian Assange and the legitimate government of Catalan President Puigdemont, currently divided between exile and prison, are unjustly suffering the repression of dishonest governments. But so are almost 3,000 Catalans who have demanded their lawful rights and are being investigated and prosecuted by way of laws such as the sedition law and the so-called gag law. Introduced by the Conservative PP, the latter is today enforced by a government that cynically calls itself the most progressive in history, but which refuses to move one finger to reverse the situation of international persecution and espionage Julian is subjected to. The Dignity Prize we are today awarding Julian, and which he so clearly deserves, has in the past been granted to former prisoners of concentration camps and anti-fascist activists of all kinds. In this way, Catalonia's Dignity Commission wishes to join in the international call demanding Julian Assange immediate and unconditional release. Extradition to the United States must be refused in the name of democracy, model journalistic practice, the spirit of the 1st of October referendum, and human decency. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Catalan.
We would like to say thank you very much for this honor bestowed on us to receive this award on behalf of Julian Assange. We will make sure it arrives in the safe hands of those who love him most, his family. Thank you very much for honoring us with allowing us to participate in this wonderful award ceremony. I'm very, very grateful. Thank you.
Very well done.
Having been asked to speak by Christine Assange on behalf of Julian Assange, and of course, having received the award for his support of the Catalan struggle, I'm reading a statement which has been issued by our whole campaign. There may be some differences in that some of us are perhaps more aware of the political situation whereas others, and I respect them too, feel that you should get the widest possible unity by not mentioning perhaps one side of what remains controversial in the minds of many people in Britain and the United States, but I think because of the lies of the media, and not just their lies, but their omission of the truths, of which, of course, Julian Assange has spoken. So I'll read first the statement that we've all agreed on, and I'll add some of my own comments, since I've been asked to speak on behalf of Julian Assange, perhaps his mother, Christina Assange, not knowing my other views on world politics, I'll mention that too. So I hope that there's no clash and that these two statements are seen as interdependent and compatible. So here's a statement first by all of us, and I certainly agree with it. On behalf of the Committee to Defend Julian Assange, I am honored to receive, on behalf of Julian Assange, the Catalonian Dignity Award 2019. Solidarity is the cornerstone of every social movement striving for a better society. This is what we are engaged in and day out, and have been for years now, in defense of our dearly and most justly beloved Julian Assange, on the streets and pavements and online. It was the same solidarity that Julian Assange extended to the Catalan people at the time in their own struggle. He did not take a position on the issue of independence. He remained true to Chapter 1, Article 1 of the United Nations Charter, the purpose of which is to develop friendly relations among nations based on respect for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of peoples, and to take other appropriate measures to strengthen universal peace. That's a quotation. Julian Assange offered his solidarity in the only way he could. While arbitrarily detained inside the Ecuadorian embassy by the United Kingdom, he followed the developments in Catalonia, informed others through social media of what was happening, and assisted in the freedom of expression of those participating in the events he was following. Indeed, this is my statement here, we must always remember that freedom is indivisible. This was said at the time by the first country in the 20th century to have a socialist revolution, and it was said in defense of Ethiopia, Eritrea, I think it was, Abyssinia, the fascists called it, in Africa. Indeed, we must always remember that freedom is indivisible. It cannot be between or for one nation, a group of nations, often privileged, but anyway, just one group of nations, and at the expense of other nations. You remember the statement of Donald Trump, shithole nations? No, all nations are important and equally important, large or small, powerful military or not, economically also. So we should also always remember that. This is a popular saying we have, an injury to one is an injury to all. That's a popular statement we have today. In the days of slavery, people were talking about, well, one is enslaved, all are in chains. I don't think that's an exaggeration at all, and it's appropriate today in many respects. Solidarity is what unites people around the globe, irrespective of race or ideology, in what has been nobly conceived as daring to struggle, daring to win. Dare to struggle, dare to win is what the Vietnamese said when they were occupied by the United States, and very much with the complicity of Britain, although Britain didn't send troops there. They had, I think in Lahore and Malaysia, they had a counterinsurgency center. They also sent guide dogs. And this led me to throw away all the silver paper that I collected on behalf of blind people to buy these blind dogs, the dogs for blind people, because they were sent to Vietnam to sniff out the Vietnamese patriots. So what I did was I took that big ball of silver paper I collected and threw it at people in the audience with whom I was speaking. Well, we were singing songs and freedom songs. It would bring me to something else I'll say afterwards, okay? Okay, so where are we? An injury to one is an injury to all, okay? And but freedom is indivisible, cannot be divided. Solidarity is what unites people around the globe, irrespective of race, religion, or ideology, in what has been nobly conceived as daring to struggle, daring to win. I believe I would have said that, okay? And so,
thank you again.
Okay, thank you again. In everlasting solidarity, free Assange now. Maybe I should have said this before I made this farewell. I wanted to recommend, if I'm asked to make a personal contribution, I'll mention the name of a person very few will have heard of. But I think it's most important, although he's a person who retired from politics, I think in 61, 62. He's the son of a chattel slave in the United States. His father worked his way north, became a preacher, brought up his children, and the name of the man is Paul Robeson, Robeson. Okay, look him up. He has written one book, and one book only that you should read, his own statement called Here I Stand. You can get that book today and read it, and then I think you will see, although it was written in 58, that it shows us very much what we can all do, and I think meets the views of others who say we shouldn't mention politics, we should get the widest possible unity, of course. So I'll repeat again, thank you again. In everlasting solidarity, solidarity forever, union makes us strong. Free Assange now.
Free Assange! Assange!